The biting chill of a late autumn wind whispered through the skeletal branches of the ancient oaks, rustling the fallen leaves into swirling patterns on the damp earth. It was a bleak afternoon, the kind that seemed to amplify the shadows and hold the unspoken secrets of the past. It was into this very atmosphere that the news of Rob Andrews' murder first pierced the quiet suburban landscape, a chilling event that would unravel a web of darkness and connect to a past horror that shook the community to its core. The name alone, murder of Rob Andrew, was a stark declaration, a finality that resonated with an unnerving stillness, a stillness that felt heavier with the ghosts of unresolved trauma. Rob Andrew, a man known for his easy smile and generous spirit, had lived a life that seemed ordinary on the surface, a life woven into the very fabric of the close-knit town of Blackwood Creek. He was a loving father to his two young children, 8-year-old Emily and 6-year-old Tom, whose innocent laughter had often been heard on the playground of Elmwood Elementary. He was a devoted husband to Sarah, a woman whose warmth and quiet strength were a constant presence in their bustling household. Rob was also a respected member of the community, his handshake firm, his advice sought after, particularly in his role as a financial analyst at Sterling Investments. The work demanded precision and detail, traits that seemed to permeate his everyday life, from meticulously balancing his personal finances to ensuring his children's school projects were always impeccably presented. He was a creature of habit, a comforting predictability in a world that often felt chaotic. Every afternoon, like clockwork, he'd be at the school gates, a familiar figure emerging from his sensible sedan, his face lighting up as his children rushed into his embrace. Saturday mornings were reserved for walks with their loyal golden retriever, Buster, through the winding paths of Blackwood Forest, a place he cherished for its tranquility. His life, it appeared, was a carefully constructed tapestry of routine, responsibility, and deep affection. This meticulous existence made his sudden, violent death even more incomprehensible, a brutal tear in the fabric of normalcy. His wife, Sarah, a woman whose life had been intricately interwoven with Rob's for nearly 15 years, was the first to report him missing. They had met at a local community fair, a chance encounter that had blossomed into a love story that many in Blackwood Creek envied. She grew increasingly concerned when he failed to return home from his daily jog through the very forest they loved. She knew this particular route intimately. It was a trail they had often traversed together, hand in hand, their laughter echoing through the towering pines and ancient oaks, a soundtrack to their shared happiness. Now, only the rustling leaves and the mournful cry of a distant crow answered her unspoken questions. The silence of the forest had swallowed him whole, a chilling premonition she couldn't shake. When she contacted the authorities, her voice trembling with a fear she couldn't yet articulate, a search was immediately initiated. The local police, their faces etched with concern, joined forces with experienced search and rescue teams, their flashlights cutting through the deepening twilight as they combed the dense woodland, their calls of Rob, swallowed by the impenetrable trees. The investigators interviewed Rob's colleagues, his friends, his family, each conversation a painful dissection of a life suddenly and brutally extinguished. The police meticulously searched his home, a quiet, well-maintained bungalow on Maple Street, hoping to find any clue, any misplaced item that could lead them to the killer. Sarah, grief-stricken but displaying a remarkable composure that belied the agony tearing her apart, cooperated fully, offering a window into her husband's character, his routines, his hopes, and dreams. Her statements were consistent, her love for Rob palpable, her descriptions of their happy life a stark contrast to the grim reality they now faced. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, the pressure mounted. The community, a place usually characterized by its friendly waves and neighborly chats, began to fracture under the weight of fear and suspicion. Desperate for answers, they began to look for someone to blame, whispering theories in hushed tones at the local diner and the town hall. The Elliott murders, unsolved and shrouded in a chilling mystery that had haunted Blackwood Creek for over a decade, resurfaced with a terrifying urgency. The violent nature of those deaths, the brutal mutilation of Ronald and Kenneth Elliott, two brothers known for their reclusive lifestyle on the outskirts of town, the lack of any obvious motive, and the absence of a clear suspect had left the case stubbornly cold. Now, with the death of Rob Andrew bearing disturbing, albeit subtle, similarities, the isolated location, the apparent lack of any immediate motive, the chilling realization dawned. The killer, the one who had committed the unimaginable horrors of the Elliott murders, may have returned, their malevolence reignited. The search for the killer became an obsession, a relentless pursuit of a shadow that seemed to dance just beyond their grasp, an elusive phantom that left only whispers and fear in its wake. The media, sensing a gripping narrative that echoed a past trauma, began to descend upon Blackwood Creek, their cameras and microphones fueling the public's fear and anxiety. Speculation ran rampant. Accusations flew from anonymity. Fingers were pointed, and the once harmonious fabric of the community began to fray, strained by suspicion and discord. The pressure on the investigators was immense, a constant, gnawing reminder of the unsolved Elliott murders, a ghost from the past that refused to be laid to rest. They knew, with a certainty that chilled them to the bone, that the killer was out there, watching, waiting, perhaps even savoring the fear they sowed. Among the individuals who drew the investigators' attention was Robert Davies, a man in his late 50s, a figure as solitary and brooding as the forest he frequented. He lived a life of deliberate isolation, residing in a small, weathered cottage on the outskirts of town, its overgrown garden and peeling paint mirroring his own disheveled appearance. Davies had a documented history of mental instability, his past littered with violent incidents, though none had ever been definitively linked to the string of unsolved crimes. His alibi for the day of Rob Andrews' murder was frustratingly weak, his movements on that fateful afternoon unaccounted for, a gaping hole in his narrative. The detectives discovered that Davies had, in fact, known the Elliott brothers, a connection that sent a shiver down their spines. As the detectives closed in, their suspicions solidifying into a grim certainty, they realized Davies was not merely a troubled loner, but a master of deception, a man who thrived in the shadows, adept at erasing his movements and constructing plausible, yet ultimately fabricated, alibis. The weight of his past, combined with the suspicious gaps in his present, made him a prime suspect. The evidence, though largely circumstantial, began to form a cohesive, damning picture. It was enough to charge Davies with the murder of Rob Andrew. The trial that followed was a tense, emotionally charged affair, filled with revelations that laid bare the raw wounds of the community. The courtroom was a microcosm of Blackwood Creek, filled with the hushed sobs of the grieving and the palpable weight of the past. Davies, his face impassive throughout the proceedings, was found guilty of the murder of Rob Andrew. In a climactic turn, the overwhelming evidence presented, bolstered by new insights gleaned from his confession regarding Andrew's murder, led to him also being charged with the Elliott murders, finally bringing a sense of closure, however painful, to both agonizing cases. In the wake of Rob Andrews' murder and the subsequent resolution of both the Elliott murders and Andrews, the community was left reeling. The impact on Sarah and her children was immeasurable. The quiet suburban life they once knew, filled with the comforting rhythm of everyday joys, had been shattered, forever stained by the brutality of the past and the chilling exposure of the darkness that had festered so close to home. Blackwood Forest, once a cherished place of peace and tranquility, a sanctuary for their family, became a symbol of fear and loss, its rustling leaves now whispering tales of terror. The legacy of Rob Andrews' murder serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the darkness that can lurk beneath the seemingly placid surface of ordinary life, and the enduring, terrifying power of evil. But amidst the profound darkness, there is also a glimmer of hope. The unwavering resolve of Detective Inspector Harding and his dedicated team, the tireless efforts of the investigators, and the community's collective determination to find justice ultimately prevailed. Justice, in its most arduous form, was served, but the pain and suffering lingered, a testament to the lasting impact of these brutal crimes. The forest, once a symbol of death and despair, slowly began to heal, the leaves whispering secrets of a past that could never be fully forgotten, a past that had irrevocably shaped the lives of those who called Blackwood Creek home. The story of Rob Andrew is a chilling account of a life cut tragically short, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to seek truth and justice in the face of unspeakable evil.